So, before we get underway, it's time to make my command official. Reporting to ESD, we meet Admiral Quinn.
Congratulations. You've proven yourself to be invaluable to Starfleet and earned the respect of your fellow officers. Return to Earth space dock. I would like to formally recognize your contributions to the Federation.
And with that, we are promoted at level 30 to the rank of Captain. And I'll have to go make time to celebrate that, but for now, Quinn asks us to pick out a new ship, which I'm going to do. However, for the next couple of missions I won't be using it, not just yet anyway. At this rank, we are offered one of three classes most recognisable to Trek viewers, the three hero ship designs: the Galaxy class, the Defiant class, and the Intrepid class. Of course, if you want to spend the money, you can pick up the Temporal Cruiser, or one of the advanced versions of the three ships. The Temporal Cruiser has the incredible technology of molecular reconstruction that allows the hull to assume variations of appearances to fit a timeline, kind of like a TARDIS. This leads me to believe it's technically introduced from the future, as this technology is beyond anything Starfleet currently has. And I'd justify it at some point by saying that your character does indeed at some point become a temporal agent, so they get access to 31st century technology. It's a shame the molecular reconstruction ability doesn't actually come into play during actual gameplay. And there we go, 4 shiny pips on the uniform. Alright, let's get back out there.
Starfleet intelligence has decoded the list of Remen targets that you recovered from the vault. I need you to investigate one of these locations and determine why Obasek and his forces planned an attack there. The Bihar system is still technically part of the Romulan Star Empire, but Ferengi speculators have moved in, and the Empress has done nothing to remove them. The Ferengi have reopened the mines and are now doing business with anyone with Latinum. You will go to the Bihar system under the pretense of negotiating a possible trade agreement with the Federation. Talk to Madran, the operator of the mines. Convince him to allow you access. Find out all you can. Once we know why Obasek and the Remens are targeting these mines, then we will be able to decide how to proceed.
While we're here, we might as well ask Admiral Tanay, what does she think Obasek's motivation for attacking the mines are? In fact, what's his motivation for attacking the Romulan people?
I do not know. Obasek and his people have traveled a most difficult path. After so many years of oppression and Romulan treachery, it does not surprise me that they are suspicious of anyone. The Remens gained much in the years after the destruction of the Romulan homeworld. But Sela is more secure in her power now, and she may believe that she no longer needs the Remens as allies. If the Romulans seek to enslave the Remens again, there will be bloodshed.
Obasek's motivations seem sincere. He told us as much as himself, and the Remens have been under the thumb of the Star Empire for years. Still, his campaign involves the use of highly dangerous Thalaron weapons, which are banned by most powers for their indiscriminate nature and painful method of execution. Right, so what do we know about the Bihar system, as it's apparently pronounced? Good thing Tanay said it first, I'd have butchered it otherwise. Well, it's home to several planets, and more prominently, the 3 moons of Bihar: Treleliu, Iowa, and Cole. Like many parts of the Romulan Star Empire, the destruction of Romulus put a stop to the infrastructure of power, and all Romulan-controlled mining operations in the system ceased. Then it became something of a free-for-all, with many independent mining contractors claiming sections of the moons and their mines, including the Orions, the Klingons. Even the Federation have a research post there to study the dark matter of the nebula in the nearby system. Well, technically the moons are still in Romulan space, so the Federation won't officially muscle in on the moons, but we can use that excuse to claim that we're looking to negotiate a contract with a third party. This Ferengi, Madran. First things first, we need to locate him and his magnesite mine. We can't forget that this system is to be the target of a Thalaron attack from Obasek and his Remen separatists. Magnesite, or MgCO3 in real life, is used in metallurgy and frequently broken down into magnesium oxides and carbon dioxide, then used as insulation for blast furnaces and the like, because of its porous nature. In Star Trek, those insulative qualities are taken a step further as they can scramble sensors in large amounts and help shield against certain radiations. Fictional geology with Rick. Unfortunately, the first moon that we hail seems to be the home to some Orion pirates that don't take too kindly to the Federation's presence here. It's unlikely those Orions were in the employ of Madran, so let's move on to the second moon. Maybe we can have some better luck there. And if they were in his employ, we'll apologise and pretend it never happened. Second moon seems to be home to some rather surly Remens who tell us it's private property, no solicitors, beggars or Starfleet allowed. Temet says they're not very welcoming, but hey, at least they didn't open fire on us.
Hello, my good friends. I'm so happy to meet you. Perhaps you are in the market for some high-quality magnesite? We have the finest ore in the quadrant. On behalf of the miners and residents here, I'm more than happy to welcome you to our home. Please transport to the surface.
Madran, I presume.
Unfortunately, the large amounts of extremely pure magnesite ore in the core of our little world will interfere with your sensors. For safety reasons, I must insist that you use the transporter signal enhancers that I have installed at my own expense. Also, I know you Starfleet types are so fond of your away teams, but could you please restrict the number of crew you bring down to the surface? My people here aren't used to strangers, and you wouldn't want to disrupt their work, would you?
Well, as we can only bring one person, and we're going to an industrial mine, let's bring Scavrin, my chief engineer. I've got to say I'm uncomfortable with such a small away team, but we need to keep up the pretense of negotiations at least. This settlement is pretty much what the mind conjures up when we think of a mining town. Rocks, shacks, industrial formations of weathered structures. The hard stone here is mirrored by the asteroids above us. I wonder how frequently this place suffers from meteor showers. We can see the other moons in the distance, as well as a cart trundling across a magrail bridge, ferrying ore off to some unseen destination, probably to be processed or perhaps some transport to be loaded up and shipped out. One thing becomes apparent rather quickly. Most of the workers here, draped in their grey cowls and shawls, thick with the dust of a hard day's work, seem to be Romulan. In the distance I notice a party of people accosting this one Romulan, so we step up to try and help, but we can't interact, at least not at the minute. Just be warned, I'm watching you. Yeah. I helped.
Did you need something?
Hoping to learn a little more about this place, after all, intelligence gathering's our mission, we can question the workers.
It's a long story. After the destruction of Romulus, I joined a group of colonists looking for a new place to settle. We chose to form a new agrarian community on Viranat, a pastoral world on the edge of Romulan space. Our colony was attacked and destroyed. I managed to evade the attackers and get off-world with a small group of people. My luck ran out here, and I've been stuck ever since.
Viranat, we've been there firsthand and seen the destruction that the Alachi and the Tal Shiar caused.
I'm a biochemist by trade. I specialize in hemocyanin, a division of hematology, working with copper-based blood. On Viranat, I handled a lot of issues related to food compatibility and local biochemistry. These days, I mostly handle minor medical issues and nutritional deficiencies for the people living here. I can't afford passage off of this moon. I've managed to stay out of debt, but I don't know how long that will last.
She seems proud of her medical work, perhaps a little resentful at some wasted potential, perhaps, but we can ask if she's seen anything around here that's strange.
This whole mining facility is nothing but strange. That Ferengi, Madran, rides everyone hard to make a profit. But just when it looks like things will get too bad, he turns around and does something generous. Folks have occasionally disappeared, and not by leaving on a ship. People here for weeks or months will suddenly vanish. People talk about seeing strange things, or being kept out of parts of the mine by the guards. There's something deeper in those mines. I'm sure of it.
Alright, so there is a protected section in the mines that people aren't allowed to go to, and people have also gone missing. Every time that civilians have gone missing and there's been a hint of Romulan involvement, it's been the Tal Shiar, Installation 18, the Gusco system, Viranat. It's becoming a worrying hallmark of their involvement. We can quiz more of these refugees and workers to get an idea of what's going on, and we hear more of the same.
I last saw him 2 days ago. Madran assigned both of us to work in the upper levels of the mine. Toshin's drill bit broke, and he needed a new one. I know I should have gone with him. It's not safe to be in the mine alone. Now he's gone.
Why isn't it safe to be in the mines? Are we talking industrial accidents or something worse?
There's a group of people down there who treat the mine like it's their own. I don't know why Madran tolerates them, but they make life miserable for the rest of us. They steal and terrorize the weak. I once saw them dragging a woman to the lower levels, and I never saw her again. She wasn't the only one. Many people have disappeared. I thought if my brother and I kept our heads down that we would be safe, but maybe they took him. Murderers. Murderers. If they killed my brother, I'll kill them all!
So this is less about people disappearing, she's literally seen people being dragged away. Holy!
If you go into the mine, watch for the silver spheres. There are creatures in the dark. Devils. They're made of stone. Nothing can hurt them, and their touch burns. I have seen them moving around in the tunnels. Anywhere you see the silver spheres, the monsters are not far away.
Mysterious silver spheres in the mines? Monsters made from rock? Sounds like you do have a tough life.
My life is unimportant. It's my brother. I can't find him.
Everybody we talk to, it's more of the same.
Oh, my family and I have been here all our lives. It's a hard life, but it's all I know. My mother used to tell me tales of the home world. She'd talk about the plazas in Roteg or vacations she spent with her father on the shores of the Apnic Sea. And she would tell me about my father, who gave up his place in the military evacuation ship so she could live. He never knew he had a child. She would tell me these stories, and later, when she thought I was asleep, she would cry. Stay in the settlement. Don't go down into the mine, and whatever you do, don't leave this area. I do not wish you harm, stranger, and there are many dangers here. There is a group. They rule the mine, and they are dangerous. Even Madran fears them. If you avoid them, they will ignore you. Now defy them, and they will turn on you. Last week, a good man died because he would not give them what they wanted. He was not the first. There are many monsters on this moon that you would be wise to avoid. Outside of the settlement, there are packs of wild animals. If you take a warrigal from its mother when it's very young, it can be tamed. If you wait too long, they are savage. The packs of wild warrigal roam the edges of our settlement. Often they prowl the refuse piles, looking for scraps of food. A pack of warrigal can kill even a strong man. and you must be careful when you are in their territory. And they are not the only monsters here. The miners tell stories about creatures made of stone who can burn you to cinders. I have not seen one of these creatures myself, but I know that many people who enter the mine do not leave it.
Everyone is scared of this group in the mines. It's not even a secret that they're there, and rumours among the workers circulate about their nature. Why doesn't Madran do something? Is he in league with them? Does he fear them, perhaps? The workers here are penned in by the wilderness around them. There's just nothing out there. Home to wild creatures that attack in packs, and in the dark of the mines, devils lurk. Let's see if we can learn more about this Ferengi, Madran, who we're supposed to meet. What do you think of him?
Every morning, the first thing I do when I wake is curse that Ferengi's name. Madran found this moon about 2 years after the destruction of the homeworld. Most of our equipment was broken or useless, the supplies were gone, and we were starving. After some negotiations, Madran had his contract and we had food. We're supposed to be working with him, but he's the only one who benefits from our labor. Madran owns the only working ship here, so no supplies come in without him. He negotiates all of the ore contracts, so most of the latinum goes into his pocket. And he sets the prices for food, medicine, and equipment, so everyone here owes him more than we can ever repay. He owns us now. I hate him for that, but I can't live without him. What can I say? We exist. I mine because there's nothing but rocks on this forsaken planet. If I'm lucky, I dig enough ore to make my quota and Madran pays me. If he pays me, I can eat and have a warm place to sleep. If we don't make our quotas, there's nothing. Even if I do have latinum, most of it goes to Madran to pay my debts, and the rest he takes in exchange for the supplies he imports. I would leave, but I owe too much to Madran to ever earn enough to buy my passage off this place. Besides, where would I go?
I'm surprised they don't receive help from even the Star Empire.
The Empire? What Empire? Our empire turned to dust with the loss of the homeworld. If you're rich or in the military, then maybe there's something. I hear the people in Sela's shining city and the Rator system live quite well, as long as they obey her commands. For the rest of us, there's nothing but dust and regret.
But the Federation's been sending aid to help Romulan refugees, especially those in the Republic.
I have heard this, but I have not seen that it is true. Are you going to go to every Romulan on every world and hand them bread? Because that is the only way you can help all of us. The strong take from the weak. Sela and her ships are strong. The Tal Shiar is strong. Your aid goes to fill their bellies and heal their wounds, Starfleet, not mine.
Yeah, looking around, that was a stupid thing to say. We've seen in real life too that aid often ends up in the wrong places, especially when the systems that create such need for relief are the ones that get to choose who benefits. The greedy get what they want, and the needy go without. It's not good. Sounds like Madran at least provides the basics for these people, but it's a cold comfort when the only consolidation you have is to say that it could be worse. These conditions are intolerable, and while I'm sure people are free to leave, how would they? The surface is inhospitable, they don't get enough pay to buy their way out, and the transporters and the communications are limited due to the magnesite, and as we saw when we beamed in, Madran controls both the communications and the transport enhancers that he's set up at his own personal expense, an expense I'm beginning to see has been no trouble in recompensing.
On behalf of everyone on this forsaken rock, let me be the first to welcome you to Hathara. As you can see, we don't have time for pleasantries, and I'm not sharing my Tranya stash with you. So, why don't we skip the chit-chat and get down to business?
No time for pleasantries, just the bare necessities, right? But tell me, Madran, what makes your magnesite better than the dozen or so other mines I passed on the way here?
Unfortunately, I cannot call this mine my own. I'm just a middleman. Out of the goodness of my heart, I help the residents here pass on the products of their hard work to commercial entities such as yourself. The minuscule transaction fee and trade tariff I keep to offset my expenses is figured into the unit cost of the ore. My operation has become one of the best in the area because of the high demand for my services from both sides. I provide the best mining equipment and supplies in the sector to the miners, while my customers get competitive pricing on the ore they need.
I see. A pioneer of business philanthropy then. Mad. Can I call you Mad? Mad. What can you tell me about the mines themselves?
I don't pay much attention to that. Miners have empty carts and they return with ones filled with ore. If you're that interested, you could visit the mines themselves, but I don't recommend it. It's such a dirty, disagreeable business. And I'm convinced that breathing ore dust for too long is terrible for you. The miners who live near my quarters used to keep me up night after night with their dreadful coughing. I had to install soundproofing just to get some sleep.
It's a shame you can't just kill them, right?
Are you sure you wouldn't rather look at the ore I have for sale?
Thanks. I think I'm gonna go talk to the miners first.
Really? Suit yourself. Just remember, I have an exclusive contract to export magnesite ore from this moon. If you try to cut me out of your deals, you'll regret it.
Yep. This crony is flanked by Norsican bodyguards, and with the limited ability to call for reinforcements, we're stuck playing by his twisted rulebook. In order to learn more, we're going to have to help the workers. If we've a science background, we can aid in setting up some survey equipment.
I have to finish a survey of the area so the miners can start work on a new mine shaft. As much as I'd appreciate someone else to lug around this heavy equipment, it's all very delicate, and I'd only trust a capable scientist to help me.
Well, that's not Hammerhand Hale here.
I don't have time to talk to you right now. I need to repair this drill so I can make a living. Not unless you know an engineer who'd be willing to take a few moments out of their busy schedule to help me fix this hunk of junk.
This one requires an engineering background to help. If only I knew someone with a background in Starfleet engineering who could help and progress the mission. Scavrin. Seriously though, it would be nice to be able to assign your officers that you've brought with you to do things for you. That's why you have a crew in the first place. Never mind. Game mechanics, I understand.
I can't talk to you. I can't talk to anyone. I'm on the run. And if those thugs see me talking to you, then you'll be in danger too.
Thugs? Can I help?
I need someone who's not afraid of a fight. There's a group here that's beating and stealing from us. Madran doesn't do anything to stop it. For all I know, he's getting a cut of everything they take. They're making life miserable for all of us. Would you be willing to help?
You can count me in.
There's a group of bullies that have been stealing from us. If we don't give them what they want, they beat us. I had a friend. All he was trying to do here was feed his family. Be a good man. He had an old bottle of ale. He said it was from the homeworld. One of those thugs wanted it. Now, my friend is dead. I'm too weak to stop them, I know that. And now I have my friend's children to feed in addition to my own. But if someone were to teach them a lesson, this camp would be a better place for all of us.
And I think I remember where we can find them. That gang we passed walking in here? Gotta be them. I said I'd be watching you! That was satisfying. Now, after patrolling the compound and dealing with the gangs, we can return to our refugee friend.
Thank you. Those guys have been giving everyone a lot of trouble. These thugs are part of a larger group that operates deep inside the magnesite mine. They control the lower levels, and no one who goes down there uninvited ever comes back. I don't know what's so important down there that's worth hurting us to protect it. Maybe if you went down there, you could get some answers.
That seems inevitable. Let's talk to Madran. After all, we're going to need to come up with a plausible excuse for our reason to enter the mines.
You want to go in the mine? Are you really interested in buying any magnesite? Or are you just here to cause trouble? Because if it's the latter, I know someplace you can start a little ruckus. There's a gang that controls the bottom levels of the mine. They won't even let me in there. Previously, I allowed them to keep their little kingdom in exchange for information. But lately, they've been more trouble than they're worth. And the intel they're feeding me is useless. Honestly, who doesn't know about the Breen invasion of the fairy space?
Oh, the little weasel. He's utilised the gang in the mines for profit, but now that Starfleet's taken an interest, he's decided they're too much trouble. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the fact that he can smell a change in the wind. It's all just coincidence. Also, the Breen invasion of the fairy space? That's very unusual information, and not the sort I'd expect to come out of a mine. What kind of information could a miner gang have access to? Entering the mines, we see nothing unusual. Pipelines, debris-supported mineshafts, but over on the left-hand side as we enter, there is a rather standoffish Romulan.
What do you want?
With this conversation, we can be outwardly aggressive and try to convince him to move, or we can try and sweet-talk our way past him. He's clearly guarding something and stands between us and the only way to proceed. With a high enough diplomacy rank, we can convince him to stand down. However, Mark Hale is a bit more direct.
Done talking with you. Leave now!
Moving past the stunned guard, we enter a chamber filled with Romulan groups. These individuals immediately attack us, fitting the behaviour of the gang that's been usurping control of the mines. If we manage to talk down the guard at the entrance, we'll face reduced resistance in here. With a cursory scan of the area, we still find nothing amiss. Could we be mistaken? But an examination soon reveals the presence of pressure plates on the floor. Stepping on one, we see that nothing happens, but assigning your away team member to stand on the second, which is rather tricky to do as the markers can't be placed directly on the pad it seems, opens a concealed doorway. Scavren suspects that the Romulans in the mines have resorted to a secret trapdoor, not just for dramatic effect, but because a lot of the technology is stifled by the magnesite ore all around us. Proceeding ahead, we find the unmistakable architecture of the Romulan military, the deep green hues that they favour with the sharp edges so prevalent in Romulan design. I think we may have found what they were trying to hide.
I give the orders here, Commander. You are out of line!
With all due respect, sir, there's a difference between protecting the Empire from her enemies and provoking
There is
them.
much here you do not understand, Janek. The Remens need to know their place. As do you. I will not forget your insubordination, Commander. The Tal Shiar has no place for officers who cannot follow orders. I'll be in the command center.
Colonel! They were civilians! Their blood is on our hands!
Get used to it. There will be more. Speaking of which, why don't you clean out the brig before you become a resident there?
That's Hakeev, current head of the Tal Shiar. I've got no idea what we just witnessed, but it seems that this Commander Janek protested against the deaths of some Romulan civilians that were prisoners here. Probably the unfortunate miners that have been disappearing. Now, the workers in here will pay us no mind. Either they're too engrossed with their work to look up and see who just entered, or they'd rather just avoid trouble in the first place and pretend they haven't noticed us. So at one point my game disconnected and I had to relog the mission, so I took the opportunity to switch out Scavren with Temet, and I also decided to have a rummage through these consoles around the room, so if you see any inconsistencies here, that's kinda why. Also, Hale looks like he's made from stone because he ended up being downed by a Thalaron radiation weapon in a fight, so he ended up looking rather crispy and the texture just didn't disappear, despite being revived by his fellow officer. Each of these command consoles is a dedicated listening post focused on a single area or faction. We find one for Starfleet Command, one for the Klingon Defense Academy, one dedicated to Borg activity, and one listening in on the True Way movement in Cardassian space. Each contains information on the political and military comings and goings of the other Alpha Quadrant powers. This facility is labelled as Listening Post Hephaestus, Hephaestus was the Greek god of the forge and smithing, known for crafting weapons of the gods, and for the Tal Shiar, information is a potent weapon. This must be where Madran was getting his information from. They must have worked out a deal with him to use the mine as a base in exchange for a competitive business edge. Of course, we've got no direct proof of this, so we can't just go accosting Madran. So after skirting around the Romulan workers, we enter the southern room to find cells and Commander Janek above us. We can immediately set about freeing the prisoners before confronting her. Doing so will bolster our chances if a confrontation is inevitable. Naturally, upon seeing a couple of Starfleet officers and former prisoners, she panics, deploying several Thalaron traps and bolting downstairs. She also summons in a heavy turret. Let's not forget magnesite doesn't make transporting impossible, it just means you need to prepare with enhancers and the like. The heavy turret's no joke, combined with her weaponry. The best is to lure her away from it, but even then the damage output is severe and I do get downed before Temet manages to save me. Eventually the fight ends with her calling a ceasefire and we can begin a dialogue.
Enough! I surrender. I value my life more than the Tal Shiar's secrets. I'll tell you anything you want to know. But first you must tell me why you are here and what you want.
Counteroffer, how about you tell us why the Remens are after this base and want to destroy it?
The Remens know about this base? Impossible. Only the leadership of the Tal Shiar know we're here. The Empress herself couldn't find us. I don't believe you. But it makes no difference. This is not a military installation. We listen and record here, nothing more. There are many targets those Remen scum would find much more tempting.
I've had enough of this.
Are you sure you want to end things like this?
Temet, answer her. Well said. As with the guards at the entrance, we lack the diplomatic tact to talk her out of hostilities. Also, if we were a Romulan captain, she's far more empathetic and we can play on her doubts in following Hakeev's orders. It's sad it had to end this way, as Commander Janek was a redeemable character to an extent, just only for her own kind, really. Entering back into the main console room, the death of Janek is a bit much for even the workaholics to ignore, and a firefight erupts in earnest. This time, though, we have the captive miners on our side, and it doesn't take much to clear the room. Before we proceed, it's worth investigating the northern passage into the newest segment of the mine. In here we can clearly see that the bulkheads have yet to be fully installed, and the chamber is mid-conversion, rocks jutting down from the ceiling. After clearing out the two guards here, we can examine the terminals on the upper platforms for more information. We learn from one that they sealed this section off after 6 people died to a creature, including 5 miners and Ensign Remen, whose body was discovered melted. On the other side, we learn that this chamber was unearthed practically as it is, and they began expansion into the cave to grow the listening post, though there are signs of these strange silver orbs in the cavern. Janek took one as an ornament, despite not knowing their origin. Whoever wrote this log says that they're reminded of a Federation report they read once about a similar incident in the Janus system. The miners outside warned us of these silver orbs and rumours of rock monsters in the dark of the mines. Seems these are more than just rumours. We find the desecrated remains of the unfortunate melted Romulans, and these orbs are everywhere. Further into the untamed depths, we see a soldier firing his disruptor at the orbs and having little effect. Taking him out, a molten pile of stone slithers from the depths of the cave and joins the attack on the surprised Romulan soldier. This creature doesn't seem hostile towards us, and we can interact with it. It's a Horta! The creatures are intelligent enough to recognise friendly behaviour, and it tells us no kill by burning the words into the stone with its acidic secretions. The Horta are a silicon-based lifeform and were encountered on Janus 6 by Federation miners, whose automatic digging destroyed many of their eggs, these silver spheres that we see everywhere. Well, technically her eggs, as the species is critically endangered, and the only one remaining Horta was in the Janus system until now. They have a 50,000-year lifespan, and these eggs take a long time to hatch, so natural repopulation of the species is going to be a slow affair. This discovery will surely speed things up. We'll have to remember to report its presence to Starfleet. Perhaps this world will become a protected sanctuary, or at least this mineshaft. Then again, we're not in Federation space, so perhaps not. With that interlude into nostalgia out of the way, we're free to proceed with the mission by taking the only unexplored door left to us, opposite the way we originally entered. With our militia of miners, the enemy patrols are easily dispatched, and we proceed at a decent pace throughout this hidden base. Oh, that rhymes. Unfortunately, the miners are not as well trained as us Starfleet types, and they can be downed. If we get to them quickly enough, we can revive them, but if not, they register as dead and the game fades them away.
How did you find this place? What else do you know? No matter. You won't be revealing anything to your superiors. It's disappointing I cannot give you a proper interrogation. But I have much to do and little time. The self-destruct sequence has begun. This base will be your tomb.
Hakeev beams out, continuing his streak of cowardice every time we confront him. But more pressing issues, the base is going to destruct. The reactor has been set to overload and we need to grab our objective before we can get out of here. Braving the spiking energy from the reactor, we copy a download of the files to our tricorder and we make the executive decision to get the frack out of here. Oh, it's a good job we liberated those miners when we did, otherwise they may be stuck in their cells as the facility collapses around them. But what are the Horta? Hopefully it'll be fine. If disruptor fire can't damage them, being buried under a rock is no obstacle, as they'll literally eat their way out if they have to. There's no opposition left in here. If there were, they'd probably be evacuating right now too, so we simply have to bolt for the exit before the caverns come in on our heads. Well, there goes the Federation's mining contract. You should probably go talk to Madran. Hey, Mad! Sup, bro?
My mine! What have you done to my mine?
Yeah, funny story. You had a Tal Shiar infestation. I fumigated.
Tal Shiar? I'm shocked! I had no idea. I certainly wouldn't have sent you down there if you... Say, you didn't happen to find anything valuable down there, did you? Because if you did, remember, I have an exclusive contract.
There's no way he couldn't have known what was down there. It was far too expansive for him to claim ignorance now.
And what's it to you? This is a rough area of the Quadrant, you know, and they're good neighbors. If you're not easily embarrassed. Their cameras and listening devices are everywhere. I haven't had a single problem with Orions or Herodians since they moved in. And it doesn't hurt that I acquired the odd bit of information here and there. I'm a businessman, and information is big business.
I get it, I do. You're surrounded by demons in the dark, so you find a devil of your own to work with. I want to stand here and lecture him about everything that he's doing that's wrong, but it would be a waste of breath, so instead we'll settle for asking if he's found out anything useful for us.
Unfortunately, no. I'll admit, I was trying to find out, but their systems were locked down tight. I'm sure whatever it was had to be big news. Everyone was on edge. Janek and Hakeev were barely speaking, and I once heard Hakeev mumbling something about orders. Someone's been pulling his strings, but I don't know who. I do know that Tal Shiar takes security very seriously. If you manage to pull any files from their system, you can expect them to be heavily encoded. Trust me on that. I speak from experience. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go talk to 100 Romulans into digging a new mine to replace the one you destroyed. My profit margin for this month is ruined.
You've been a paragon of charity and help, Madran. We can warn him to treat those miners right, or we'll be back. But unless the Federation steps up to provide relief in a more direct manner, the threat and the words ring hollow. With Starfleet occupied on numerous fronts with other conflicts, it's unlikely that we'll be able to aid more than we already have. But if nothing else, this colony serves to remind us that not every person in the galaxy has access to free replicators and transporters like the Federation worlds. Some people have to make do with what they can get. At least they're not slaves. Or it could be worse, they could be stranded on a derelict station scavenging for supplies, or under the thumb of a totalitarian regime like Empress Sela's empire. It could be worse. That still sounds like a cold comfort to me. We'll have to decode the data we recovered before we can send it. To do so involves a minigame where we have to spot the faulty information within a directory and amend it to unlock a code fragment to gain access to restricted files. We get an unlimited number of attempts, so trial and error is acceptable here. Some changes include the House of Torg of the Klingon Empire being brought before the House of Martok and commended when comparing it to Starfleet records tells us that they were actually accused of treason. Or the mention that the Vulcan ambassador Sokketh retired to Pajem. In fact, we know firsthand that Sokketh was a Species 8472 infiltrator. We covered that mission in Chapter 1 of the Star Trek Online story series, which you can see here. Once all the files are remedied and we have the passkeys, we can apply them to the scrambled reciprocity file, gradually decrypting its coded format. Check out my mad hack skills. We learn that the Tal Shiar have uncovered a Remen base in the Dera system through interrogation and execution of a captured Remen vessel and the subsequent interception of communications. We'll need to report this to Admiral Tanay, she'll want to know.
The Tal Shiar records you recovered showed that Hakeev and his forces have been targeting the Remens for months. Obasek and his followers have been driven from their homes, had their ships destroyed, and their loved ones killed or imprisoned. Some might say that Obasek's campaign against the Tal Shiar is just. However, Obasek was planning on using Thalaron weapons in the Bihar system, which would have killed hundreds of innocent civilians, as well as the Tal Shiar cell there. This is the problem with revenge. Violence and fury only create more pain and suffering.
We receive a Horta hatchling stowaway as a pet, but we can also ask what exactly it is we're doing to help aid Romulan refugees, like those in the Bihar system.
Since the destruction of Romulus, the Federation has done all it can for the survivors and the Romulan colony worlds. Many of our aid shipments were stolen or diverted for use by the Romulan military. Others were rejected out of pride or suspicion. Nonetheless, we will not stop. It is my belief that a lasting peace with the Romulans is possible, but it will not be attained through treaties. Only by reaching out to individuals, as you did in the Bihar system, can we sweep away decades of mistrust and hostility.
So I'm not the only one that feels this way. That's good. Tanay is right though. We've tried to supply the governments of the Romulan people, but we've seen colonies like Cirini Prime barricaded and held with militant force by the Star Empire, with all of their commodities diverted to Sela's regime. We've seen the Tal Shiar throw away colony worlds like Viranat to some larger game we haven't even uncovered yet. And who's pulling Hakeev's strings? Sela? That's unlikely. We've seen in the past that her and Hakeev have a tenuous relationship, with him not even showing up to support her attack on Vulcan, despite being ordered to do so.
I have Hakeev, Empress.
Patch him through.
Greetings, Empress.
My fleet has launched for Vulcan. I expect you to rendezvous with us there.
Alas, I must disappoint you. The terrorist cells of the Romulan Republic demand my full attention.
So, could it be something greater, more powerful? We've been hearing whispers in the air of darkness on the horizon. And all the while, the Romulan and Remen people alike are caught in power plays and petty greed and revenge, and they're all suffering for it. We'll just have to do the best we can as we forge on through the continuing narrative of Star Trek Online and delve ever deeper into the Romulan mystery story arc. And I hope you'll join me next time as we continue. Thanks for watching. I've been Rick, and until next time, goodbye.